Needles can be removed simply and precisely from needle boards using Groz-Beckert needle removal tools. When doing so, it does not matter if you are removing individual needles, complete segments or the entire needle board. If the entire needle board is free of felting needles and contamination, new felting or structuring needles can be used. To do this, remove the green adhesive tape and open the needle box. Remove the gray foam, which is used to secure the needles for transport, and then the anti-corrosion paper. Special care should be taken after removing the needles from the box during alignment. This should never be done on a hard surface such as stone or metal, as the points of the needles will be damaged. Damaged points may transport fibers and result in marks on the product. Hold the needles with one hand and insert the needles in rows across the width of the needle board. To do this, insert the felting needle with the point facing downwards until only the clamping shank and needle crank can be seen. Place the needles by hand with the crank in the desired position when inserting them. If necessary, the needle crank can also be aligned in one direction using a wire brush. When aligning the needle cranks during hammering, needles can be bent by diagonal blows with the hammer. To insert the needles into the board, tap the needle cranks in a vertical motion with the hammer. Use several light blows instead of a few strong blows to prevent damage and breakage of the needles when hammering. When fitting new boards, avoid inserting needles in the direction of machine operation. Instead, always insert the needles in rows across the width of the needle board. After driving in the needles, check the board row by row with the needle inspection board. This is suitable for checking needles even with higher needle board densities, as it is thin and flexible. New needles removed directly from the box are covered with a thin protective layer of corrosion protection oil which is completely harmless to humans. This protective layer wears off after just a few punches into the product being needled. It is therefore important that the needles in the needle boards are sprayed if it is likely that the needle boards will not be used for several days. Any conventional rust protection spray can be used for this. Please ensure that all needles in the board are sprayed evenly and that the needle boxes are closed again after removing the needles. To prevent damage to the points, do not place the loaded needle boards with the needle points on a table or floor for storage. Do not lean the needle board with the points against a wall. Placing the needle boards against a wall or other objects, including the back of the board, can lead to permanent deformation of the needle board in addition to needle damage. To prevent point contact and possible damage, store the needle boards vertically or horizontally in a designated holder. For horizontal storage, it is best to store needle boards with the needles pointing downwards in order to prevent additional dust formation on the needles. In conclusion, Groz-Beckert recommends the following steps for complete filling of needle boards. Remove needles from the board and clean the needle board and holes if necessary. Insert new needles in rows across the width of the needle board. Align the needles and tap them into the board with vertical blows on the needle crank. Then, check the needle board for completeness and crank orientation and double-check also regarding bent and/or broken needles. Therefore, use the needle inspection board. For preparing needle boards to storage, we recommend the following steps. In the first step, clean the needles with air pressure and as needed with a suitable degreaser. Ensure that all fiber and dust is completely removed from the needle board and needles themselves. Then, check the needle board for damaged needles. Therefore, use the needle inspection board. Afterwards, wet needles evenly with corrosion protection oil. The optimal storage conditions for Groz-Beckert needle boxes are in an ambient temperature between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius and a maximum humidity of 40%.